Pop in, say hi. If you've never come into one of my lives before, hi, I'm Cindy. I explore the inside and the outside. And Sunday nights, we have a little crew that gets together. For me, it's a little bit of a interaction with the people that I make content for because Monday to Friday, I do a little bit of mindset. I try to come to the table with the lessons, but sometimes those lessons are a little bit heavy. So on Sunday nights, we get together, like I said, and we just kind of hang out. We keep it light. The conversation is different all the time. We never know who's going to pop in. Hello, Owen. What do you think of the setup that I've got here going on tonight? It wasn't in the plan to switch things up today, but I was doing some cleaning and some dusting, and I really thought that tonight would be a good night just to spend a couple of hours tearing things. Because I really do. In order to move my desk around, I have to pull every wire, every device out, and then remember how to put it back together. I usually mess something up. Sometimes it's the speakers. Sometimes, I don't get any power. Sometimes it's the internet. Sometimes I don't hook things back up properly. And I kind of allowed myself a few extra minutes to kind of tidy up just in case I did screw something up tonight. And I don't know. It seems to me that everything is okay in this moment. I am just going to go into my desktop here just so I can just check on the quality of the video. I've also been using a different camera this week, so I just want to kind of check to see uh, how it's doing, if I'm in the right quality, if it's working, or if I just got kicked out, and it's just using my webcam. So I don't know. I'm just going in to check right now. Um, Owen, how's your week been going? Does it look okay? Awesome. I just come onto my desktop here, so I'm just skipping it, and woohoo, she's in high definition tonight. Okay, you guys, let me know if it works out any better tonight. I'd like some kind of feedback before I start messing things up anymore. Hello, Andrew. How's your week been going? We got a different kind of setup. I'm feeling pretty comfortable because number one, the glare is not so bad, and I'm able to turn off a light down there, so it's not beaming into my eyes. I have a little bit of flare going on, uh, reflective going on, but so far not bad. I'm pretty good with how this is set up. I had to rush. I just finished my dinner, so pardon me in advance if I burp during the live tonight. I put a new kind of program into my life. I've been on every diet my entire life. I have been on every single diet. I don't think there's one out there that I haven't been on. Uh, but something I've never tried was cutoff time when it comes to eating. And so this week I've been kind of practicing and experimenting a little bit by giving myself a cutoff time, which is 8 p.m. every single night. Help me to sleep. Sometimes, if I come in at 9 o'clock, I haven't eaten yet. And then after my live show, I run to the fridge and I whip something together really fast. That's too late for me to have dinner because when I go to bed, that's all like acid reflux, right? So I thought I would try not necessarily to lose weight, but it seems that possibly things are moving in that direction. I know I am notorious for night eating, but this week, I'm down a couple of pounds, but it wasn't with the intent of losing weight. It was just kind of cutting off when I'm eating so I'm not eating late in the evening. I'm not getting that heavy feeling that my body is able to rejuvenate, because this is where our body does rejuvenate, is when we're sleeping. But if my body has to spend that time in digestion, right? It's not probably a good thing, especially for the metabolism. So we thought we'd switch the metabolism up a little bit without too much effort. If it becomes a headache, right? If I find I'm scrambling every night to get my dinner in before my live, I'll have to readjust it, right? We adapt, we conquer, we find different ways that work for us. So I am excited to see if this works, if I'm happy with my setup here, you guys. Okay, let's see what Andrew says. Pretty good week. A project that ran over time is finished. I'm glad for the work. Glad that it's over. I had to find a new barber. Got a really short haircut, and now my head is cold. Right? Time to pull out the toques there, Andrew. Right? Me myself, I've been wearing the toques and on my bonnets and stuff too because it has been cold, and it's a little bit deceiving too because it's super sunny. Manitoba probably gets more sun than anywheres out else in this country. Um, uh, Prairies, the way the wind moves, there's no mountains and stuff to make those tunnels. We do get a lot of sun here, but it's not necessarily meaning that it's warm because we feel the chill in the air. Oh, right. Owen's an American. So is it this week coming up that it's Thanksgiving in the States, or is it today or tomorrow, Owen? Let me know. I don't really keep tracks. I do know that Canada and the United States both celebrate Thanksgiving, but they do it a month apart. Uh, I kind of like the idea of having Thanksgiving and Christmas a month apart. I can see how that would work in the States, especially if you were married and had kids that you could spend time with each side of the family without it becoming a big headache. We get a lot of arguments and right, or I'm going to Jones for Christmas this year. I can't come to Christmas this year, right? It's not the same in Canada because we can't say, well, we'll come to Thanksgiving on this side of the family, and then we're going to do Christmas on the other side of the family, because it doesn't work, because there's a 2 month difference in that. It's not close enough to Christmas to make it feel like a real holiday. So here in Canada, usually what we do is we go one side of the family on Christmas Eve, and then the other side of the family on Christmas Day. But I don't know. Is that how you guys work it in the States? Seeing that it is so close to Christmas, do you separate Christmas and Thanksgiving and almost use them as the same holidays so that you can appease, right? Both sides of the family. Um oh, Andrew, I went to the mall day after Halloween, and you couldn't even find any Halloween, right? They might have had a little discount bin by the cashier, but it was all Christmas. I was absolutely, absolutely shocked. Even the Christmas tree sellers were up and running on November 1st. My sister Tracy always does her Christmas decorations uh, on the 1st of November. For myself, I'm not big. It's just me. I'm not big in decorating my house. I did have a ceramic Christmas tree up until this week when I sold it. I wasn't using it. I would much prefer. I made $75 on a little ceramic Christmas tree that I think I paid. I didn't even pay $5 for it. Right? I did pretty good in the sales this week. I'm working on paying off my house bill, so I'm kind of proud of myself that the money is drizzling in and I'm managing to clear up some bills, put a few groceries in the cupboard, and well, happy to get these projects done. I did want to get the desk switched over. My only issue was is I love my big picture window, so there has to be enough space so that it doesn't interfere with my view, and it doesn't. So I'm kind of pleased with that, right? Um, this is supposed to be a good quality camera that I got hooked up here, but I could see the little molecules and atoms floating around. Floating around there. So, it is in that adapt and conquer. It is in the experimenting, that we get to learn what works and what doesn't work in our life, right? And that's with, it's not just like what I'm doing on YouTube, but in life in general, right? We have to kind of practice. We have to kind of adapt and conquer. Sometimes we have to give ourselves a little kick in the butt to get things going, right? Like me today, I was just doing cleaning and stuff, and I pulled a cord, and once I pulled a cord, I says, okay, let's pull all the cords. And my whole bed was covered in cords and devices, and I wanted to start off fresh, so I put everything off and hooked absolutely everything except empty out my drawers. That'll be for another day. And I scrubbed everything down, moved everything where I wanted it, checked out if it was okay for me. And then, all proud of myself, my first try, I put it all together and everything works, from the mouse, the keyboard, the speakers, the microphones, the cameras, the PC, the laptop, everything just worked out so well. And I stayed within my timings. I even had like 5 minutes before I did my live show, right? And I used that 5 minutes to make myself a cup of coffee. Now, you guys can't see my kitchen counter. I've still got gear all over the place, but the big clean is done. The big clean is done. You can see a little bit of what's going on behind me. Let me get out of your way here. You can kind of see, this is kind of my setup. This wall here are things that I love. Uh, they all have a story. Everything has a story, but it has a good story. And a lot of them were really great scores. A lot of it is on its way out the door. I've got it listed. So slowly, a lot of it is going to be heading out the door. Um, if you guys don't notice, I don't know if you guys can see well on my wall here, but if you don't, then you would notice that I collect crystals, rocks, geodes, dragons, I love history. I love trees. I love Mother Nature, right? And it makes me happy. But like I said, a lot of this will be moving along also. But in the moment, I'm still enjoying it. Okay, let's see. They're quiet days. They're very quiet days for me too. Christmas Eve a little bit busier because sometimes, well, they don't stick around very long. But my sisters come by and stop off and drop off my Christmas presents and my stocking. We do our live show on Christmas Eve, so it's nice and quiet. This year, I was actually contemplating whether or not I want to drink any alcohol, right? It's been a couple of years now since I've had any alcohol, and it's not like I have any adverse effects or if I have any moral problems with drinking. Just right, I'm not a big drinker. Some days in celebrations, right? A couple of years ago, I had my electric monkeys, the tequila, the Kahlua, and the banana liqueur, and they were really, really good. But this year I was thinking maybe I would just do some tequila and pineapple juice. I like tequila. I don't drink it very often. I haven't had any tequila in a few years. But I thought maybe I'd get myself a little bottle and for our live show on Christmas Eve I would do right some tequila and pineapples. That sounds really good to me. Yeah. Oh, hi, Kathy. What do you think of the new setup here, Kathy? How does it look on your screen? Do you guys see any kind of improvement at all? Because that's the idea. I'm just trying to work with things a little bit to see if I can make it a little bit more. I'm not looking for professionalism, but there is a certain standard that YouTube expects, right? At the very least, I would like to be in the 1080, which is what I've got right now. So it's just a matter of figuring out the lighting, but this lighting seems pretty decent. I can't do anything about the glare of the glasses. That's just kind of something that we're going to have to live with until I've got my glasses replaced. Here's something pretty incredible, you guys. I was kind of looking because I do have to get new glasses, right? I do have to get new glasses because, well, I work in social media. I can't have glasses that kind of make me look like I have fly eyes, right? And also, when I got these glasses in progressive shouldn't have been made because, they don't even have nose guards on these. And so my prescription is actually like an inch away from my face. So I can't even read properly just by wearing my glasses normally. They should have said, "Oh, we can't put a progressive in those." Right? I paid a couple extra $100 to have the progressives. Didn't work out for me. But I did a little bit of Googling because when I hit about 45 years old, I wasn't able to wear contacts anymore. I used to wear contacts all the time. But because I couldn't wear the contacts anymore because the muscles around my eyes relaxed, I went back into the glasses. So I was doing a little bit of Googling, and it turns out technology has changed a little bit since I was in my contact lenses, and now they do make contacts for middle aged and seniors who have had their muscles in their eyes relax. Right? I don't know if you guys are all in glasses. I went into glasses when I was 27 years old. My own fault. I ruined my eyes, right? And it would be something that I would change differently if I had an opportunity to take better care of my eyes. I would. If I had a better opportunity to take care of my teeth, right? I would have taken better care of my teeth. But you can't cry over spilt milk, right? If you can make it better and you can make some movement, you can make some changes, right? Then have at her. But if it's not something you can do anything and all you're going to do is beat yourself up or make yourself feel bad, you just got to learn to accept, and you just got to learn to just, right, move on from that. And again, you adapt with what you can do. But when I heard that I can get my contacts again, I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to go back into my contacts for, I don't know, maybe 5 years or so. And if that's the case, then I could just keep these glasses. I wouldn't be wearing them very much, but the contacts, that would make me happy. That would make I look totally different when I'm out of my when I'm out of my glasses. Oh, you just started wearing glasses over the past couple of years. Yeah, it's usually something that happens when you hit around 40, 45 years old. The muscles around your eyes kind of relax, right? And even if you never wore glasses before, then quite often you'll find that you're at the very least into the readers. Um, but right, it's something we don't pay attention to. We don't think that we'll ever wear glasses. I never thought that I would ever wear glasses. And I tell you, when I was a kid or a teenager, I wanted to wear glasses. I wanted to people to think that I was one of the smart kids, that I had something going for me, right? And then once I was into the eyeglasses, then I didn't want to be in them, right? I didn't realize that the astigmatisms that I had were making my eyes look like great big saucers, right? And that happens. I'm farsighted in one eye and nearsighted in the other eye. So I'm farsighted and nearsighted, but that makes me happy, right? To know that I can go back into my contacts, because I really liked wearing my disposable contacts. They worked out really well for me, and I never, not once in the probably 15 years that I wore them, I never once had an eye infection, you know, and yeah, I did like wearing the contacts. So yeah, so when I go in to have my eyes checked again, and I should have it done before the end of December, so that, right, try and make your medical. I don't get a lot, but you get to claim your dental, you get to claim your glasses, you get to claim your medication, you get to claim any medical equipment that you have to have. And so you want to make that number as high as you can, because you get a little bit of a deduction for that. Grateful, right, that I'm not always able to claim that deduction. And I have to say that because I don't spend a lot of money when it comes to medical. I am grateful because, some of my sister's medication, if she didn't have that insurance, would be absolutely outrageous. Yeah, she did really good by her work. She's on her disability right now, right? She had a quadruple or triple heart bypass. My sister recently had a triple heart bypass. She's healing up really, really good. It was the scariest experience of her entire life, and she says that she can conquer anything now. She can get through anything, because she said she couldn't think of a worse operation, right, than the one that she went through. And she says it doesn't matter, whatever little procedure she has to go through, she'll go through it and she'll be grateful for it. So I'm glad at the very least her fear of hospitals and doctors has dissipated a little bit, because she did have a great fear of doctors and hospitals. It kind of runs in the family. For myself, I'm that person. If it needs to be done, it needs to be done. Suck it up, Cindy. Go get it done. But my sister was trying to talk herself out of her bypass surgery the night before her surgery. She was looking for her outs, right? Right. But I say it all the time. I'm past couple of weeks, I haven't really been feeling great, but I think it was mostly in settling in to the blues. You know what I mean? With my cat just passing away and everything, that it just kind of made me a little bit blue. It's November too, and November is my worst month of the year. I don't know about you guys if you have a worse month, but I can't think of a month worse than November. It's cold and dark and dreary. It's time when you're getting ready for winter, that hibernation feeling. It's knowing that you gotta buckle down, because now you're in the work season. You're right. You're in that season where it's cold and miserable, so you might as well just crack down and make some money and move towards that new horn. I bet you guys can tell the difference in that horn too, eh? Sending you out some good cheer. Hope they get to their destination and it's a false alarm, so that they can just turn around and just drive right back to the station. If you don't know, I live behind a fire station. So on occasion, a couple of times today, the fire trucks went by. And I'm grateful too, because it's only maybe two or three times during the course of when I'm home that I see those trucks and the paramedics scoot by. So I would have to say, right, because there have been days where they go nonstop. It's like every 15 minutes. By the time they get to the station, they're off on another one. And I know that's their job, but that's also stress, right? So we want to make sure that the fire department is not stressed. You never know who's gonna need them. Oh my goodness, all kinds of notifications and a lot of content coming across my path on, and a fresh content that's just been made today, and it's all like on self-sabotage, right? And emotional growth. And I just like, these are things that I've been in for the past couple of weeks, and then I get up today and it's just all fresh content on those exact topics. So I had to go into them, but they were really, really good information. Really, for those of you who don't know, I grew up in a dynamic family. I like to reference, my family as dynamic, because a lot of families are dynamic these days, and because they're all in close proximity to me in age, my sisters, and because they were my best friends. They were probably my only friends for a very long time in growing up, that we learn to dance around each other's personalities and personality traits, because each one of us got different lessons, different conversations, and different dynamics in those relationships with each other. Being the empath that I am, right? I spent a lot of time in that chameleon of trying to pick up the good traits of my sisters, whatever worked for them. Maybe it'll work for me. Uh, and because they were my friends, right? We rubbed off on each other. Now that's what the problem is now, is untangling all those wires so that I can figure out for myself, right? What traits are mine and what traits, right, did I just pick up because my sister Alice did it, right? Me and her, we both have some common interests. We both love thrifting. We both love reselling. We both love being out and about and looking for scores. And we've been enjoying each other's company. And it's not something that for the most part that we did, because she was so much younger than I was when I was growing up. She was, I think, still in grade school by the time I left high school, right? Let me have a sip of my coffee. And the same thing with my sister Carolyn. She was just a baby practically when I left school completely. And uh and yet as adults we get along amazingly. We're very good friends. My sister was a bit of a socialite. She was very pretty. She didn't have much interest in school. She had interest in the boys, but she grew up to be somebody who had her own life. Like, she loved that social aspect of her life. She loved the boys. Right? So I spent a lot of time on my own. And when my dad was home, I try and scoop up as much time without irritating and being clingy, because you become very codependent in those who will can tolerate having you around, right? So these were a lot of topics that I've been into this week. And um I was in the topic of stunted emotional growth, right? And it usually comes from our traumas, where we just well, we skip out, right? We skip out, and it makes it so that we grow up as adults with very childlike um, personalities, and um, the way we move, right? And the way we interact with each other. I can clearly see for myself, that I have that childlike mentality, only for the fact that, I get along with different ages. I don't find age gaps to be a problem in any way. And maybe that has a little bit to do with the fact that I never had kids, so I don't have growing kids to reflect back to me that I'm getting old, right? But because I have spent so much time on my own, I do know that I have a very childlike personality. You guys know the way I take off. I drive my sisters crazy. They have no idea why I take off on these trips by myself all the time, right? But that's part of that childlikeness that I have, right? And it's not a bad trait, or not even necessarily a good trait, because there is a few things that will make it difficult for us to move along in our lives. But at the same time, we are optimistic. We are open to change, and that's not a trait. I'm very open to change, only because I've had a lot of change in my life and I got used to it. But when I was looking at these things, these signs of being emotionally stunted, right? And I went, "Oh my goodness, only two of them truly relate to me. Other ones I might have a little bit of these issues, but difficulty handling stress. Well, I've been under stress my entire life. I've been under stress. And, right, a lot of me handling stress is putting off tomorrow what I should be doing today. But a lot of it is recognizing that if I don't have anything that I can do, then why am I going to worry about it, right? And also in that idea that I have to be proud that at least I tried, because lots of people don't even try. So they're, you know, um, in my emotional growth, I don't think my stress levels cause me a lot of stress unless it is in kind of like a life and death situation like it was with my cat, right? These are really really bad situations, but when it comes to my bills, and I'm right, the bills getting cut off next week, I'm able to move, and that's right, that bill is still there. I'm still aware that that bill is there, right? But I don't kill myself over it. I don't put myself in an absolute panic over it, right? That I'm able to handle those really stressful moments. They also said that stressful, that uh, that you don't like to talk on the phone, right? You don't like to deal with people on the phone, and that is something too that I don't appreciate, right? Um, I've never been a phone person, and I know if I have issues, right, get somebody else to make that phone call. I recognize that I have that problem, and that would be when about as stressful as it gets. Is I got to make a phone call, and I can't make this phone call, right? Um, Fear of intimacy and vulnerability. Um, I'm not afraid of vulnerability only because it has been expressed so often in my life. And, I kind of accept that I'm the person that I am. And I don't look at vulnerability as a weakness. I look at it as a strength because, it's where I can sympathize with others. It's where I can sympathize for myself, right? That I can emotionally put myself in other people's shoes in order to find solutions, or to relate to somebody, or sympathize or empathize with somebody. There is a difference between sympathize and empathize. um, those immaturity in the relationships, my close relationships, I'm pretty casual, right? I'm pretty straight up. I let my weaknesses be known right away, because you want to know the people that you invite into your life, and you want to see if they'll use what they know about you as a weapon, right? To suit the way, if they call it sheep herding, when they want you to go in a certain direction, and they use what they know about you to kind of get you to where they want you to be, right? Struggles with self reflection, right? And personal responsibility and personal growth. And this is very strong in the emotionally stunted growth. And yet, you guys know, I don't have a problem with that at I spend a great deal of time every day in self reflection. Emotional outbursts or suppression of childlike natures, like a very immature nature in that. That's okay. That's part of my personality. The outbursts, they don't happen very, very, very rarely do they happen. We do get taken by surprise. I mean, if I'm in the shower and you come in and spook me when I'm in the shower, I'm probably going to punch you in the forehead. but when it comes to outbursts where you're just going to totally freak out, right? No, that's not something that's part of my nature in any way. Like a lot of this, and yet I know that I am sensitive that way. I am naive, and I've been referred that way too, right? It's not that these are things that I just recognize about myself. Other people recognize them about me too, right? Struggles with emotional expression. No. Poor conflict resolution skills. Well, no, I kind of thrive in the problems. I love looking for solutions. It was something I was always good at, especially in those interactive social issues that we have. I love being a mediator or moderator, depending on how you want to look at it, in those conflicts, and give honest and not honest, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm looking, like, if my judgment's fair, that's the word I was looking for. Fair. I'm fair in my judgment, though I try really hard not to be judgmental. Right? I can't help it. I grew up in a dynamic family, and I suspect that, in rubbing with my sisters and the lessons that I absorbed in from those dynamics of how the family was being brought up, a lot of it worked, a lot of it didn't work, right? And so I am happy because this is when I was first coming in and I first woke up to some of these ideas, and I understood my purpose was going to come from my pain, right? But if I'm going to choose my purpose, right, then obviously then I want to make sure that that I'm having fun in whatever I'm doing. And if I'm not having fun, I want to be at the very least able to help myself, right? That I'm able to make some movement. And, right, in doing both at the same time, and of course, you're not good when you're first starting, but I was able to practice my craft through the process, and it worked for me. It worked for my brand. It kept me going. It made it so I didn't quit, and here I am, 11 years. We're going on 11 years, you guys. In another month and a half it will be 11 years on YouTube. How incredible is that, right? It's absolutely amazing the way that I ended up here, right? Because we had the word community twice this week. This word's been popping up a lot during my life. So, what's my good cheer? We got this word community a few times. So, I've also been delving into that deeper too, right? And it's understanding myself that I'll be able to recognize where I belong. But, in that process of always changing, like, always changing. I'm pleased with this. It looks so much better than it's been all week, but I know it's in that experimenting. Right? We experiment, and some things work, some things don't work, some things just manage to work barely, right? But you hack away at it. And I look at my brand now, even from where it was a year ago, right? And that change is not in the brand. That change is in me. And I'm just bringing me to the brand, right? And the brand has always been me, but because I'm always changing, right? It's still me. I'm just grateful that you guys, right? Hang out with me, even though I go through these experiments or experiences that I do and that I've changed so much. And yet you guys still hang out with me. It's so much appreciated. Yeah, I wasn't eligible for the LASIK surgery there, Owen. I would have liked to have had that surgery. Um, oh, Andrew, thank you so much. I know I'm eclectic, right? And it was funny that I say that I am eclectic because I was moving things around. Let me grab this. Oh, I'm feeling like an old lady today. I did good. Oh, and I'm comfortable. I have this space now too. I've gotten rid of so much stuff. This says it all when it comes to me. This is a picture Kathy colored. Let's pull it over here. Kathy colored that for me and she sent it off to me. But when you look at it, see how eclectic she is, right? With the candy and the moths and the butterflies and the spaceships and the carousel on her. It's just everything, right? And I utilize all of that like tools, right? So when I look behind me, right? I look behind me and I go, I love my stuff. But it's a lot, right? It's a lot of doodads and it's thinned out a lot too. But, right? I don't think you would expect anything else except for, right? This person because that represents me so well, so well. Yeah, this one hangs up by my doorway. I love this picture. Yeah, it represents me. It represents who I am so well, right? I'm a dreamer, right? And I am eclectic. We are collectors. What do you collect, Kathy? Tell me. Actually, you guys, all of you, tell me what you collect. I do crystals, I do dragons, and I do trees. I love Mother Nature. I would have to just say Mother Nature because of the wood and everything, right? But I do Mother Nature, I do crystals, and I do dragons. I got lots of dragons. I don't know if you have a bigger screen. I'm not looking at the bigger screen. Maybe you can see some of my dragons. Uh, maybe not. Maybe not. But yeah, you know, and actually this what you see here up until the 18th century, this was for the wealthy, right? The doodads. This was an idea, right? And actually, what is? the Victoria and Albert Museum in England, right? Queen Victoria, she's the one that made doodads really um, collectible and sought after by the general public. It was a way for people to entertain at home. It was good for the economy and the different shops and stuff. But more importantly, uh, the government was working on the infrastructure, right? Because before then, they were just throwing potties out the window onto the sidewalks. It was a very stinky city, very stinky and problematic. And so, in order to keep people indoors while they were doing the work, because it was a big job, they did it really fast too. They changed the infrastructure really fast in their even in their own lifetime. I only think it took them a few years to get it done. But ever since then, even for the low incomes and the middle class, right? It's like this. It's like sugar, you know, when sugar first came into uh, Europe, it was the 15th century, and it was only for the kings and the right and the counts and the rich people. It wasn't for middle class. It wasn't for low incomes. The sugar and they would actually form sugar. They'd add water to it and they'd form sugar into steaks and they would paint them with food coloring and stuff. They would make fruit out of them, and you'd go to these parties and big parties in these castles and stuff, and people would just take the sugar home, right? So they could put it in their coffee or tea and right, give it to their kids and stuff. After a while, sugar became so abundant and so easy to ship that it was something that was able to go into the low incomes and into the middle class. But they did some tests, bodies in the graveyards, and because they wanted to see prior to the 15th century the comparison to the dental, and sugar did such a job on people's teeth. They were right when they were doing the autopsies and the on on the bodies that they interred, that they could clearly see the detrimental damage that sugar had done to people's teeth. Yeah, sugar was not such a great thing to be invented, yet it built a belly and it gave us treats, right? It gave us treats, but there were ways that were already in effect to sweeten desserts. They were using applesauce, they were using honey, they were using, oh my goodness, so there were a few things that we're using to sweeten. So they were using like even bananas. They were bringing bananas back before they were bringing the sugar back, and they were even using bananas to sweeten things up. Fruit, right? So sugar wasn't necessarily something we needed to have, but because they were able to bring the cost of sugar, even now, right? Sugar is so cheap. You can get a 5 pound bag of sugar for a few dollars, for a few dollars. And for families who don't have decent incomes for groceries, can you imagine how much sugar they're bringing in? You know, I know for my mother too, she'd always have a bag of sugar and a big bag of flour and big bag of not a big bag, but she'd have yeast going on in the counter. So like there was always baking going on, and that stuff was cheap, but it wasn't good for us, right? It wasn't good for us. And coming from a dynamic family that I was coming from, right? There wasn't much chance for any of us to be healthy weights because it was like a roller coaster in our household. That sometimes I would be on a diet and sometimes I wouldn't be. It all depended on how the budget was, and all the kids too. They would always be um, um, at the sweets. My dad, he loved his family, and he liked to treat his family well when he did well in his gambling or at work or when he was fishing and stuff. So there were always those treats going on. We never ever ate well. We ate cheaply, right? We ate cheaply, but there was always food in our guts. But were they healthy? No. It was the vitamins and minerals for me. That's what I truly believe. That's where my good health lies, is the fact that I took vitamins and minerals my entire life. My whole family has ailments, all of them, right? And it's possible that I might have an ailment. I don't feel it. I don't. I haven't had the need to go to a doctor in a very very long time, but I keep care of myself physically. Wasn't always the case, right? Some There was a time when I was over 300 pounds, right? But I believe that, the fact that I was able to shed 100 pounds, right? That it took the weight off of my legs and off of my feet. I don't think if I had not lost that weight, right? If I hadn't had that surgery, I for sure would have ended up with diabetes, right? But because I had that surgery, I it was impossible for me to get diabetes, right? They bypass the duodenum, and the duodenum is what processes sugar. So it just ran through right through my system. They don't do that operation. Like, people don't realize for diabetes there's a cure. There is a cure. It's called a duodenum switch, and they just they just sew it up or staple it so that sugar cannot be processed, and then it just goes right out of your body. But they don't do that operation here in North America. They do it in Europe, but they don't do it here in North America because you get malabsorption, and it can be more dangerous than having the duodenum switch. I know when I had that operation, they were very adamant that I take my vitamins for the rest of my life. Didn't make a difference to me because I'd already been on vitamins my entire life, right? So it was just made it so that I stuck to that routine, that I took it seriously. And because I think I took it seriously, it did me some good. I think if I were to have children, I would have made sure that my kids were on the multivitamins, because kids do not eat well, right? They right, and kids aren't supposed to be taking care of themselves. Their parents are supposed to be taking care of them, right? And but vitamins, I think would serve kids really, really well. Yeah. Uh okay, let's see what the collections are. Oh, look, there are some we are collectors. You started this one, Kathy. We are collectors. Okay, Andrew says, I collect Oh, I know you collect pens. Oh, as Cindy knows. I could be said to collect books, but most are donated when I have read them, right? A collector, a collector would be somebody who doesn't want to part with what they collect. I have been a collector of many things. I was a brass collector at one point when I think that was the 80s. I started collecting brass, and everybody found out I collected brass. And then every birthday, Christmas, anniversary, I was getting brass until I absolutely hated all the brass. And it took me forever to get rid of it. I think I got rid of it all in a garage sale separately, and I really wanted it all to go together because some of those pieces were pretty spectacular, and lots of them were antiques, and people were buying me some pretty expensive pieces of brass. And I think probably I would have done better if I had just took them to the scrapyard, right? But yeah, I used to collect brass. I used to collect the smalls, you guys, the turtles, the frogs. Oh my goodness, right? So many different collections. My coat collection. Now I'm down to two winter coats and maybe a half a dozen spring jackets. I had a lot at one time. I had like over 20, right? It's just a matter of thinning out if you don't use it. But yeah, I remember your pens. I sent you a whole bunch of them, I think, too, last Christmas, Andrew. And you wrote me those letters. Remember, you wrote me those letters, and you wrote me a letter for each pen. Each pen. It was amazing. I absolutely loved it. Okay. Kathy says, I collect antique bottles, of course, and also antique tins and advertising. Love going to the antique stores. Oh, I love, and we would have so much fun, Kathy. It sounds like we have some interest. I knew the bottle digging, right? I didn't know that you liked the antique stores. I found a new antique mall downtown. I walked by it on an appointment last month, and I said next time I was around, I was going to go into the mall and check it out. Um, I contemplated in actually starting my own little antique area in one of the antique malls, but they're very expensive still. We were looking at, I think, $600 a month for like a 15 square foot, right? So 1545 square foot of space, and it wouldn't have been enough for me. And also at the same time, you have to think of your profit margin. As of late, I wanted to start a thrift store. I think I could rock it in a thrift store. I think I could probably do $1,000 a day in thrifting. And I bet you, right, that my sister would have a blast teaming up with me in opening up a thrift store. But she is not a gumption kind of girl, right? Like, she likes what she likes, but she doesn't like change. That's the thing. My sister Alice, she doesn't like change. So she loves thrifting. So we go thrifting, and the few things that she likes to do, we do that together. But I don't think I would ever be able to get her to join forces with me in starting a thrift store. I actually just got my government forms to let me know of my pension coming up. So yeah, this year I'm going to be, I don't know, technically retired. It's interesting to know that maybe I'm going to have an income every month, and whatever I can pull in would just be extra. But as of the end of this coming year, that I'll have a pension in place, and whether I choose to work or not choose to work, that everything will be okay. And that's the thing, right? Because if you were to talk about how I handle stress, the one thing that would get me is that threat of losing the roof over my head, right? So, would it put me in a panic mode? No, it would put me in an action mode 100%. But I have the mentality that everything is going to be okay. And because I whistle while I work, I sing in the rain, and I adapt and conquer in that. So I would just stay moving. I wouldn't have time to stress about things, and I think that's why I don't have a lot of stress, because it's when you're stopped, it's when you're idle and you have that space in your brain to go hang out there, that we become our worst instigators in that, and we can make uh, a molehill into an anthill. No problem. I am that way, but it really has to threaten the livelihood, right? I'm not working in this moment, but I'm managing okay because I'm aware of my situation, and because I'm adapting and conquering, and because I'm practicing my craft, and I'm and that pride and that entrepreneurship kind of reselling, that I've been doing really, really, really well in reselling, you guys. This week I sold a ceramic Christmas tree that I think I paid $5 for. I sold it for $75. I Oh my goodness, there were a few things I right? A few $100s. But if you could bring in a few $100s every month and you tag that on to a pension, right? You could do pretty decently for yourself. And it makes it also that I don't have to put myself in that position where like that situation that I just came out of my last job, right? I don't get to dictate who I surround myself with when it comes to working for other people. And in the lesson, so grateful for the lessons. I wish they had come like 30 or 40 years ago, 50 years ago, even. But it doesn't matter. They came when they came. And the fact is, I learned lessons. I learned some really helpful things that will make it so that my life will move a little, and is moving a little bit smoother than it ever than it ever has, right? Okay, so you like your bottles and the antique tins. I wish I had known about the tins, because they used to come into the store all the time, all the old baking tins and the cookie tins and stuff. They all came into the store all the time, and you have like 50 cents, $1 on them. But I know when you get a lot of those things, you lose track of where you can display them, and then you end up with bins of tins and stuff because you got nowheres to display them. Kathy says, Andrew, pens are a good thing to collect because they don't take up too much space. unlike Kathy's, unlike Kathy's pens or tins. Sorry, I was just saying when I came in live that I had to rush a little bit tonight because of my projects, cleaning and organizing projects that I had today. And because I have this new rule that I can't eat after 8 o'clock at night. Hello, Nancy. I bet you that's Nancy. I bet you that's Nancy. Um, uh, because I have this new rule for myself that I can't eat after 8 o'clock at night, I wanted to make sure that I had something to eat before I went live. Otherwise, I would have gone a whole day fasting unintentional. Would it have hurt me? No, it probably would have done me some good. And I probably would have been a little bit proud of myself that all I did was drink coffee and tea today. But the idea of cutting off food at 8 o'clock at night. It was just to help me in my digestion, right? It's not helping me get up in the middle of the night because I don't have anything in my stomach except for fluid. So I do get up a couple of times during the course of the night to go to the washroom. But it's better than not being able to sleep well because your stomach was full. And I was doing that lots, doing my live show during the week at 9 o'clock at night, ending it at 10 o'clock, and then making something to eat, eating at 10:30, and then going to bed, right? And I've been going to bed. I'm trying to stay up to midnight. I'm managing to about 11:30 in the evening, which is the earliest I have gone to sleep in decades. And I have to say, my sleeping habits have improved as of late. I always thought I had good sleeping habits. But when you go to bed at 1 o'clock in the morning, because remember, I was doing my live at midnight and then shutting everything down at 1 o'clock in the morning, maybe sometimes 2 o'clock in the morning, because sometimes I would go in and watch my live show for the lesson for myself too. And, me yapping away for an hour that sometimes I wouldn't get to bed till 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. And because I get up at 7 o'clock in the morning, no matter what, which is what I was doing, I was only getting 5 hours of sleep a day. I think I'm good on 6 hours of sleep today because even when I was only getting 5 hours of sleep a day, I was still getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning. I didn't notice that I was exhausted until it was time to do my live show. And I'm looking at the clock going, oh my goodness, it's 5 minutes to midnight. I have to do my live show before I go to bed. But I'm so tired, Cindy. Well, you should have done your live show a little bit earlier then, right? So we switched it up a little bit. 9 o'clock is working good. I was ready to switch it up and go in the afternoon. My only problem with going into the afternoon is if I have to go back to work, right? That it might have to go back into the evenings. But change is okay. I'm good with the change. If I had to switch back, I would switch back. I'm just grateful, right? That I didn't have to give up my brand at all, right? That my brand is adapting and conquering to whatever I'm adapting and conquering to. So I just show up. That's all I have to do is show up. I explore the inside and the outside. And as of late, sometimes I do spend a lot of time on the inside, but that's going to serve. It's not, it serves me in the moment. Oh my goodness, it serves me in the moment that I'm not stepping into those potholes like I was doing on a moment to moment, everyday kind of basis. That, I'll be able to help others with what I'm not going to say so desperately need, because I don't believe that I so desperately need it anymore. I did, right? And it helped me out so much, but it makes it so that I'm interesting in learning more, right? If I didn't know that until I knew it, what else don't I know, right? And not just make the lessons relatable for myself, right? Because we all need specialized. We could all have the same problem, but the solutions for each one of us would be different depending on our experiences, right? And our problems. So I enjoy what I'm doing, and I'm gonna do it right until the very very end, till they shut it down on me completely, till the digital age just crashes, right? It could happen. We don't know. Sometimes we can make that change. We can make those small adjustments for ourselves. Sometimes we don't have any choice. It's just gonna happen whether we're ready or not. And grateful, right? It hasn't shut me down too much. I remember last year when I first bought my laptop and I didn't understand about codexes and stuff, and I thought my editing program was all messed up, and I destroyed my computer and I gave it to a friend, and it was so rough being without my computer for a week, not being able to do my live shows properly. But that's the practicing of the craft. That's how we get better every time we make a mistake, every time we get something wrong, that we get another opportunity if we want, right? Because we could give up if we want, but giving up for me, it's not an option, but that's an option lots of people take. Mm, my coffee is good tonight, but the pens, yes. Um, Owen, don't you have a hobby? I'm looking for your hobby, Owen. Oh, there you go. Owen says he collects bottles too. Oh, pins. Are you kidding me? Oh, we got the most cool pins into the store all the time, right? I could have, if I had known these things, I would have collected them for you guys. Oh my goodness. So many cool pens. I remember that I had a whole set of vintage Beatles. Can you believe it? Beatles pins. Um, a customer came up to the counter with them. And we usually put that kind of stuff in the auction windows. We have auction windows every month. But the scores people would get, and I bet you those Beatles buttons were worth a lot of money. But those old buttons, they would show up at the store all the time. But lots of people like buttons, right? Lots of people like collecting buttons. They put them on, they pin them to their backpacks and stuff, right? But yeah, I was all about the smalls. I didn't even try and get into the pins. I had to limit myself. Even with the jewelry, when the jewelry came in, I had to limit myself to earrings and bracelets. Otherwise, I would be all over the jewelry. I actually we got another fire engine, you guys. We're going to send out some good cheer. Get to your destination. Knock on the door. They're going to answer the door and they say, "We don't need you. Everything's good. The emergency's over." And they can just go right back to the station, right? Right back to the station and everything will be okay. Okay, so where was I at? I was jibber yabbering about something and I got distracted by the fire truck. But that's okay. Okay. Uh Yeah, it's so exciting. Well, I have my CPP, but that's only a few hundred dollars a month, right? But but yeah, getting pensioned off, and they gave me the forms, let me know how much money that I was going to make, and I don't even think I'm going to have to claim for guaranteed income because I've worked pretty much my entire life. Women lots of times they don't have to work because the husbands take care of them and stuff. So lots of times the women don't have that pension. And I got a pretty decent. I think it should be just over 400. And then I got the old age that starts next year too. So they have guaranteed income here in Canada that everybody who's over 65, there's a certain amount minimum that you should be bringing into your household. And if you don't make that amount of money, the government will top up your pension so you do make it. And I think that guaranteed income is like 14, almost $1,500, 14 or 1,500. I knew that was you, Nancy. Hi, Nancy. Oh my goodness. Nice to see you. Um, yeah, so $1,500, I'll be able to manage on $1,500. If I have my RV by then, $1,500 will be perfect for me. And then I'm going to hit the road for my retirement. I'm actually even thinking, you guys, I'm going to do a Scotland trip, I think. I'm not sure if it's going to be this year or next year, but my whole life, there are places now that I would much prefer to go. Like, I would love to see Croatia. I would love to go to the Mediterranean. I would love to go to the Mediterranean. I would love to go to the Nunavut, right? Um, but Scotland was something I wanted to go to ever since I was a little kid, and as of recently, I've been watching the bothies. Their old houses. You know, when they cleared the clans out of Scotland, they had to leave their houses and their farms, homesteads, right? But now those old homesteads, old stone houses and stuff, they've been made into traveler stayovers, almost like hostels, and they're old houses, and then you walk Scotland. I'm going to go walk the hills of Scotland, and I'm going to stay in these bothies. And I'll get to meet people too, right? Maybe I'll meet myself a Scotsman. I went down the aisle when I got married. I went down the aisle by bagpipes. That was pretty cool. Yeah, I love Scotland. I don't know what it is about England and Scotland, but I absolutely was enthralled and compulsed. I had a map that was like 6 feet by 6 feet, and it was on my wall, and I used to stick pins all over the places in Scotland that I would want to go visit. And it's so neat that, as an adult right now, that I'm actually able to go into YouTube and I'm able to watch documentaries, and able to watch archaeological digs. There's lots of archaeology in Scotland, you guys, like ton. The Neolithics, you guys, the Neanderthals, like there was a lot of them going on in Scotland. Oh, you guys, did you hear about the new continent? They call it Zoolandia. Is that what they called it? It's under the ocean. Only a part of it is sticking above the ocean. Um, but they say now that we have 8 continents, not 7. We have 8. So uh, they just released the 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 reports and everything. I don't know if they're going to change school books and stuff to account for the extra continent that is mostly under the sea, but it used to be above the surface, right? But yeah, now a lot of it is like right under the ocean. Yeah, it's right in between, I think, Australia and South America. In between there, that's where the continent is. They've known it was there for a very long time, but in making sure that they do the studies and everything in the documentation properly, they just announced it this week. I think it was this week. It was something I read today anyway, and I thought, oh, that was really interesting. I know there are lots of plates that are in the water, like even some ancient cities and some ancient villages and stuff are in the water. There was a time when England was attached to the coast where where it wasn't an island, right? Great Britain wasn't an island. It was actually attached, and all of that is under the water. But there are villages and maybe cities and right all kinds of artifacts from the Neolithic era that are in there, right? And there, Baffin Island, is it Baffin Island, where it also broke away from the coast, and mammoths were still there 6,000 years ago. That they didn't go extinct until 6,000 years ago, the mammoths, because they got cut off from the mainland, and because they were the only animals, right, that were on that island, that they lasted 6,000 years until, right, the Homo sapiens got there. Once the Homo sapiens got to the island, then the last of the mammoths died. But they said the mammoths were doing really, really, really well. They were cut off from everything, and they thought because there were only a few mammoths on that island, only a few, and they were able to expand over a course of 2,000 years to what did they say, 200, 200 or 300 mammoths that were consistent. It wasn't even a big island. But I bet you those Homo sapiens, after eating all the mammoths in the rest of the continent, when they were able to get over to that island, that was like Christmas, right? But it didn't take them long before they wiped out the very last of the mammoths. They brought back the dodo, and I saw an article this week, but I went in to find out some more information. But they said that the Chinese had brought back the Tasmanian devil, the Thylacine. But when I went to look for the information, because that would be huge, that would be all over the news. When I came across that article, I was so enthralled and excited and stuff that it came back. But when I went to look for the information, right, it wasn't there. So you got to be really careful about the content and the information that comes across your path, because with this digital age, it's so fake. I went into a video this afternoon. Content seemed really good, but I'm looking at the person presenting the content, and about every 20 seconds there was a certain facial movement, right, that this character was making while they were presenting, as they were talking and stuff. And it kept repeating in that. It was something with the eyelashes and the eyelids. I went, oh my goodness, this is AI. And I had sat there for probably 2 minutes before I recognized that it was AI and not somebody, right, divvying out a lesson. It's tough, you guys, right? The only way that we're going to be able to recognize what's human and what's not human is in that casualness, in that layman's, in that way that we talk, where we make mistakes in what we say when it comes to the facts, because we know robots, right? They're very factual, they're not going to make mistakes. And also in being able to feel out the emotions, right? And for highly sensitives and empaths, that's fairly easy to do, but that's not the norm when it comes to the regular population. And so people really, really got to be careful about who they're allowing themselves to be influenced by. There is so much AI going on out there. Like it's getting to the point where we're not even going to have the ability, right? There won't be a need for us to communicate verbally anymore, that we're going to be able to do it by texts and maybe by our own minds, right? We don't know with technology and innovation where we're going to go as humans, but I do believe, right? Like I was saying about being sheep herded. I think I think we're being sheep herded because we're an amalgamation of right human and those other parts of us that humans get a say and get to dictate through their choices, but whatever's in the future dictating sheep herding us into a direction. They don't know what we're going to think of next. They don't know what choices we're going to make next. So I believe that has to be managed in some way because there's an end game, right? There is a destination, but I think in the baby steps, right? That's where they'll be able to do those little course corrections without it turning into something that is problematic, right? That needs to be dealt with in the moment. Otherwise, whatever was meant for us to be, whatever that destination is, isn't going to be a destination anymore because we made a choice that took us off in a different direction, right? This is the way I think sometimes. Okay, you guys, it's after 9 o'clock. I can't go finish my dinner, so we're going to just put it on a plate, put some saran wrap on it, put it in the fridge for tomorrow. Perfectly good with that. I'm going to wash up a few dishes. Perfectly happy and content with how the setup is, you guys. Hopefully for you guys that you can see that the it looks good, right? I'm gonna try this out for maybe a week or two and see if it works and if changes need to come into effect. Changes need to come into effect. You guys, that's it for tonight. If you guys want to come in tomorrow, I'll be in tomorrow. Um, I'm just reading these last comments. I saw that Nancy had come in. Oh, that's nice that you popped in and said hi, Nancy. Oh, I'm disappointed that you feel that way, Nancy, right? The things hopefully will get better in the States. I hope that. You know, if you want to chit chat, you guys know where I am. You know how to get a hold of me. And if not, we'll see you tomorrow or we'll see you next Sunday. You guys have a great night.